Wow. Just wow. Krishna. Just wow. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Krishna. Okay. Just incredible. Just incredible. Okay, they had to put a new AC unit in the house. The compressor went out on the one that was here, and so they just went ahead and they put all new, the air handler, the compressor. They put a smaller unit in, which is much better actually, because it's just a small building. The thing was too big for this building anyway. But it's considerable expense. I mean, you could buy a car, like a small used car for what these things cost. But he got some help with a company called Wygren, and they work it out over. Anyway, went ahead and got it. And so I was under the impression it was all new, everything, because that's what the salesperson I was talking with said. It's all new system, and with all kinds of guarantees for 5 years, 10 years, parts, labor, blah, 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 It's kind of like when they sell you a car. So it works good. It works well. I don't use it all that much, but when I do, it works very well. It's a good product. And the people were always very nice when they came, a couple times a year to service the other equipment. And I felt good about the company. They seemed very decent, decent people. They were all actually quite nice people. But I thought they cheated me on something. And because I didn't understand how it worked, I thought they cheated. They were cheating. And my whole way of looking at the company changed completely. In other words, I got to experience what happens when there's no knowledge. And I was just reading in the Gita about the symptom of the mode of goodness is knowledge. You can see things as they are. And the symptom of ignorance is no knowledge. You make mistakes, and you can't tell what's what because you don't have any knowledge. And all kinds of things happen if you're stumbling around in the dark. And that's what I was just experiencing with this air conditioning thing. I thought they had cheated me. I didn't understand about the, what's it called? The air filtration system. They didn't replace that. They didn't have to. And now that I look at the contract, I see they did the air handler and the compressor unit. And they left air, what do you call it? Filtration system intact. It didn't need to be replaced. It would have been an extra added expense, and it didn't need to be. But I was under the impression that they were going to replace everything. So when I went back there, I noticed it was the old filtration system in there. And I thought that they had charged me for a new one and didn't put it in. So because I didn't have that knowledge, I was very angry all day. And I was going to call the Better Business Bureau. And I was sure they were trying to cheat. And that I had been mistaken about these people. They were really awful people. And their business was... And unfortunately, I called. And I talked to the little young lady behind the desk, very sweet, simple person behind the desk, answering the phone. And I was, thankfully I didn't use any four-letter words. I didn't say anything really nasty. But I was very angry. And I was going on and on about how I had no idea that their company was like this. They're such a bad company, I was like, I was sure that they had cheated me. But when I looked at the contract, I saw it wasn't part of the contract to replace the unit, the filtration unit. It wasn't part of the contract. So there was nothing wrong with it. They didn't have to replace it. It was just used and old, but it was working fine. Leave it alone. And so when I finally figured it out, I was angry all day. And when I finally figured it out, that they weren't cheating me, everything was fine. What's the matter with you? I got to see what happens with the mode of ignorance. It's amazing how Krishna is, It's like I was wondering, why am I going through this? Why am I angry like this? Why? What's happening? Why? It was Krishna showing me in an experiential way, not just a jnana way, but a experience way, what happens in the mode of ignorance. When you don't see things as they are, you become fearful, you become angry, you make all kinds of mistakes. I was very offensive to the poor little girl. I'm going to call her tomorrow and apologize. She'll hear it's me and she'll probably, hang up or something. No, she did very well. Actually, she did very well. She didn't get into it with me at all. She just was very quiet, and I just ranted and raved for a while. And she was very quiet. She was very nice. But I see that, really, really powerful way can understand what happens in the mode of ignorance. And there's a lot of that ignorance going around about the vaccines and about the virus and people, because without knowledge, you not actually see things as they are, and angry about this and fearful about that, and it's a conspiracy and they're poisoning everyone, and how can you sort it all out without knowledge? So it's like there's a lot of it in the air, so I guess I just kind of picked it up and ended up doing this thing with the air conditioning unit. That's really, really, it's amazing how Krishna Consciousness, how Krishna shows you things, Krishna teaches you things, how you can understand. Its knowledge is so important. Prabhupada's books are so important. This is the knowledge. That's what the sages, when they were at Naimisharanya, they saw this darkness coming, this ignorance, this age of ignorance. They saw it coming. And they were asking, where is the light? Where is the light in this age of darkness and ignorance? Where, Kali Yuga, where's the light? It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll give light in the darkness. It was just amazing how before I got in this thing where I didn't really understand, I didn't have the knowledge to understand the situation properly. I was in ignorance about the filtration unit not being part of the contract. I thought it was. And I thought they had, charged me for it, but not replaced it. And so I thought, oh, they're cheating me. And then I was just seeing the whole company as terrible people. Whereas like 5 minutes before, they were very nice. I've been dealing with them for years. I've never had a problem. They were always very nice people. But all of a sudden it changed. And then I was like, they've been fooling me. They're not really nice people. They're thieves. They stole the air filter. It was ignorance. They colored everything. I couldn't see the actual situation. Amazing. It's so clear now. But I was angry all day. I was angry at these terrible people. Krishna. Because I didn't have the right understanding of the situation. The illusory energy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I don't know, do I dare read any more about the modes of material nature? Oh no, no. Do I dare read any more about the modes of material nature? If reading about the mode of ignorance, I had to go through that whole thing in the mode of ignorance to really kind of understand the mode of ignorance. Do I dare read about passion? Oh God. Yes, I do dare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So let me read a little something. Boy, I was in a tizzy all day, ready to kill somebody. But it was just ignorance, because I didn't understand the situation. Amazing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I've got glasses around here somewhere. Oops. Hare Krishna. Oh. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, the mode of ignorance. Wow. Krishna, mode of ignorance. Very well. Yeah. Right, it's like I had to be in my bonnet all day thinking these people cheated me, when really I just didn't understand the contract. They did very good, perfectly, but I didn't understand the contract. It was me, wasn't that? Oh man. Whew. I was going to call the Better Business Bureau. I was going to leave nasty reviews on Google. I was going to, make a stink. I was going to make a civil lawsuit. I just didn't understand. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. It was me that didn't understand. Actually, the girl was trying to explain to me, but I was so determined to be angry that she couldn't get a word in edgewise, and I was just blah, 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 blah. So that's what ignorance does. That's ignorance. Can't see things as they are, and then make a big poo-poo everywhere, because get all kinds of karmic reactions, stumbling around in the dark. So this is, thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 14, text 20. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Prabhupada's purport: how one can stay in the transcendental position even in this body, in full Krishna consciousness, is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement of spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. By advancement of spiritual knowledge, doesn't become influenced by the modes of nature, even though embodied within a material body. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body, he is certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from this material entanglement, and this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. Yeah, and this was Arjuna asking, next verse, asks the question. He says, Arjuna inquired, "O my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior? And how does he transcend the modes of nature?" Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of a person who has already transcended the material modes. He first inquires of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he has already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated, non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That's very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. Always situated, always transcendentally. Unless one knows the means by which one can be situated always transcendentally, there's no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important, and the Lord answers them. These are several verses together, 22 through 25. Now Krishna is going to answer Arjuna. He says, the Blessed Lord said, He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs from them when they disappear, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, looks on a clod, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. Prabhupada's purport. Arjuna submitted the 3 different questions, and the Lord answers them one after another. In these verses, Krishna first indicates that a person transcendentally situated neither envies anyone nor hankers for anything. When a living entity stays in this material world, embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the 3 modes of material nature. When he is actually out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of the material modes of nature. And as long as he is not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. When one is conscious of the material body, he acts only for sense gratification, but when one transfers the consciousness to Krishna, sense gratification automatically stops. One does not need this material body. He does not need to accept the dictations of the material body. The qualities of the material modes in the body will act, but as spirit soul, the self is aloof from such activities. The qualities of the material modes in the body will act, but as spirit soul, the self is aloof from such activities. How does he become aloof? He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. Thus, transcendentally situated, the devotee becomes automatically free. He need not try to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. So the key is desire. He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. These are just different sides of the same coin. One is, it's about the body, either to enjoy it or get out of it. But it's just about the body, so it's really just 2 sides of the same coin. So he doesn't get caught in the trap. He only desires to serve Krishna. The next question concerns the dealings of a transcendentally situated person. The materially situated person is affected by so-called honor and dishonor offered to the body. But the transcendentally situated person is not affected by such false honor and dishonor. He performs his duty in Krishna consciousness and does not mind whether a man honors or dishonors him. He accepts things that are favorable for his duty in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he has no necessity of anything material, either a stone or gold. He takes everyone as his dear friend who helps him in his execution of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. And he does not hate his so-called enemy. He is equally disposed and sees everything on an equal level because he knows perfectly well that he has nothing to do with material existence. Social and political issues do not affect him, because he knows the situation of temporary upheavals and disturbances. He does not attempt anything for his own sake. He can attempt anything for Krishna, but for his personal self he does not attain anything. By such behavior one becomes actually transcendentally situated. Okay, this is a really famous verse, 26. Mam chayo vyabhacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitjaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Does not fall down in any circumstance, engages in full devotional service, at once transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman, spirit. Prabhupada's purport, this verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? That was the third question. What are the means? As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different plenary expansions, such as Ram and Narayan. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna or his plenary expansions is considered to be transcendentally situated. One should also note that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all transcendental qualities. So, if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, although these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, he can overcome them easily. This is already explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto Krishna at once surmounts the influence of the modes of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire the equality of Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, full of knowledge, and the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus, the living entity's spiritual position is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality. The difference of individuality continues, otherwise there is no question of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activity of exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there's no meaning of Bhakti Yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman, or freed from all material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literature, Brahmaiva, Sanskrit, It is said in the Vedic literature, one can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with Brahman by attainment of Brahman, or does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul. So attaining Brahman, qualitatively one with Brahman, but not losing individual identity. Okay, the last verse of purport's quite long. But the verse is, and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal and imperishable and eternal. Krishna, 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 Krishna. So there's a real long purport to that. I'll get to it. Krishna. Oh, I hope you apologize. Not yet, because I didn't figure it out until, it was already nighttime. I mean, I was just hopping all day. I was out there pulling weeds, and every weed was getting it, I guess I needed to go through that so I could understand how valuable knowledge is. Because people act on that kind of ignorance, and they do terrible things. Sometimes, they get so angry in the mode of ignorance, they'll actually attack somebody, maybe shoot them, or do something, in the mode of ignorance. I'm going to apologize tomorrow, and I want to let her know that she handled the situation perfectly, and I so much appreciate her remaining calm and not lashing out at me. It's really, she did a good job. She was good. I'm embarrassed. I feel very embarrassed, but I see what it was. I know you will. Oh yeah, no, I'm going to call. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I demanded to talk to somebody up in the higher, ranks at the company, and she assured me, they'll call you. And I said, I don't think your company, I don't think anybody's going to call the way your company does things. Oh, I was awful. I was just awful. I was in so much ignorance. I know what kind of company this is. I was like the worst possible person you could ever deal with. It was terrible. And she said, no, they'll call. They will call. I said, well, I'll be very surprised if they do. It was quite dramatic. Krishna. I was so, my ignorance, I see now how it works. So, yeah, it's like, wow, thank you, Krishna. It's like, and then when I actually understood the contract, all of that was gone, and I was like, oh, wow. It was like a filter had been removed, like there was a filter over everything, looking through it was coloring everything. Everything she said, everything about what the company did, it was covering it. And then when the ignorance was removed, it was like, oh, wow. That's knowledge. And knowledge does that. That's just like one little thing that happened. But on a big scale, like, Krishna, wow. Yeah. Truth is really important on all levels. Make all kinds of bad decisions if you don't have the truth about anything. How can you make any kind of a reasonable decision if you don't have knowledge of the thing, or you don't know the truth about it? You have to make mistakes. And mistakes means reactions. It means suffering. Krishna. Krishna's here. He's come to save the day. He's here. He's here. You know what? His body is a spiritual body. And it's Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. It's eternal. It's full of knowledge. Blissful. In form. He is a form. Krishna. He is knowledge. Satchidananda Vigraha is form is made of, it's not made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. His body is made of Satchidananda Vigraha, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So he's not different from his body, so Krishna is knowledge. He says that in the Gita too. He says, I am knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Because he's everything. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Out of the dark and into the light. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Govinda. You got the, what is it? You got the stink eye, as we say. I don't know what that is. I never heard that term before. Maybe I'll Google it and say the stink eye. That stink eye. It's a good term, stink eye. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, Govinda. Yeah, it's after 11. I gotta go. Krishna Chaitanya. Fun with Krishna. Govinda.